Hello, Ray Phoenix here. Welcome to Let's Play Rockman X3 Part 8. We're going into one of Mega Man's longest running traditions, the Boss Gauntlet. What Mega Man game doesn't have a Boss Gauntlet? And this Boss Gauntlet isn't like any other Boss Gauntlet we've dealt with in any other game, because normally you're expected to use their weaknesses against them, and you can only do this in one go to one sitting, and it's you only have one bar of health, fight off all the bosses. But we have the Z-Saber, the greatest weapon in the entire franchise. It makes any boss in this game a weakling. Just hit them once or twice and they're dead, and it makes pretty much it. So I'm going to do this entire boss gauntlet only using the X-Buster and the Z-Saber. Because why wouldn't I use the Z-Saber? We spent the whole game working towards getting that powerful weapon. I'm not just going to throw it away like that, right? Of course not. Of course I'm going to want to play with it. It's a new toy, essentially. You get a new powerful toy. Of course you're going to want to play with it. You're going to want to do stuff with it. It's part of what makes this game fun. It's one of the most fun things that this game has to offer. And I bet a lot of people played this game back in 1995 or 1996. Had no idea there was a Z-Saber you could collect in this game, because they didn't really have the internet back then like we have today to look up things and figure out what is what. This weapon is like I said, it's overpowered, and this Z-Saber appears in the next game, but it's nowhere near as powerful in the next game. Maybe it degraded over time, like lightsabers from Star Wars, because I know lightsabers from Star Wars thin out over time. Like in the prequels, the beams looked very thick, and they looked very majestic and thick. By the time it got to the original trilogy, it's like they rotted or something like that, because they look very thin and very pale. Kind of like DVDs, because DVDs can rot too due to disc rot. My mom recently lost her DVD of Fanboys thanks to disc rot. I used to watch that exact DVD years ago, and the ending would kind of just skip out a bit or conk out a bit. But I tried watching that same DVD a few days ago, and now more of the DVD doesn't work, and it was never damaged at all by me or anyone else, so it's most likely disc rot. I'm gonna have to buy a new copy of that movie and then rip it onto my computer. That's the only way you can really combat disc rot, is to rip your favorite DVDs before they start to rot. It's quite a shame that a lot of these DVDs, especially ones made by Warner Brothers, are all rot a lot, so they don't work very well anymore. They don't work at all anymore. It's quite a shame. It's also quite a shame too, from the Maverick's perspective, that this Z-Saber is just destroying them like it's nothing. It's overpowered. Imagine if we had the Z-Saber right from the beginning of the game, or if you could play as Zero in boss battles. Imagine what that would be like. Maybe that's why Zero's not playable during boss battles in this game. Because the Z-Saber is just too overpowered, and you make short work of almost every boss in this game. I mean, Blast Hornet's kind of a challenge. It's really hard to use the sword on this guy, the Blast Hornet or Blast Hornet, whatever his name is. I forget what their names are. They have different names in different versions of the games. I know it's impossible to necessarily memorize every single name of them. But he is hard to hit with the Z-Saber, mostly because he just flies around most of the time and just shoots stuff at you. Whenever you get hit when the Z-Saber is still charged, after you fire the first shot before you throw the second shot, which activates the Z-Saber, if you get hit in that phase, you lose your Z-Saber shot. Kind of like in Mega Man 5 and 6, where if you get hit while you're charging a charge shot, you lose your charge shot. Similar premise stuff. I guess if they figured it out, I guess made him, if you get hit so many times and didn't lose a Z-Saber charge, they probably figured it would be way too easy then, so maybe that's why they did that. I don't know if the developers are necessarily thinking. I wouldn't mind meeting developers of this game at some point and asking them questions about why they made X3 the way it is. Why is this game the way it is? That would be interesting to ask. I did lose some health there, but I'm not going to use any of my sub-tanks. Instead, I'm just going to stand here for several seconds, and I'm going to gradually get some more health. I think it's like every 4 to 6 seconds or so, you get a new unit of health, your health gets refilled. Of course, I'm not going to spend the whole time just standing there doing nothing, so that would take maybe 10 minutes or more. I don't think anyone wants to see that. Oh look, it's that Wolverine Tiger guy again that gave us the greatest weapon in the game. If only this weapon could also give us the ability to block attacks too, like with those big adamantium claws he has. And my sword, and he's no match for my sword. My sword just went right through him and took out 60% of his health in just one little stab. Took out 60% of his health. Sometimes he can block them, but I don't know, maybe maybe his adamantium doesn't always work or something like that. And we're also going to be hearing the sound of my sword getting activated. Well, it makes like an electrifying sound, like zhing, zhing. Also makes that sound. I've heard a very similar sound last month when when Transformers exploded outside of my house, and they made a very similar sounding sound. Exploding Transformers. That's probably where they got that sound effect from. Because a lot of our sound effects we have in movies, they come from real life things. So maybe that's where they got that sound effect, sound clip from. It may have been exclusive to this version of the game, as this version of the game has much smoother and crisper sound than its SNES counterpart. Which the SNES version is probably the version more people played, considering the fact that this version of the game is rare, and it only came out in Japan and Europe. Yeah, it's something I didn't really know about. I remember the boss I had at the game store I worked at a decade ago. I worked there for 3 months as part of a co-op term that I was given in my last year of high school. And he asked me once about Mega Man games in the PS1. He asked me, how many Mega Man games are there in the PS1? I tried to list all the ones I know of. And I said that I mentioned that there were 4 Mega Man X games on the PS1. I mentioned the first one, the PS1 was X3. Of course, I didn't mention at all that it only came out in Japan and Europe, mostly because I didn't know it only came out in Japan and Europe. I only knew about this version of the game because the one they used on the Mega Man X collection, which came out in early 2006, and only on PS2 and GameCube. And I have the PS2 version of that game. And it was unfortunately one of the victims of my slim PS2 that had that damned ribbon cable that's caused those majestic circular scratches on my discs. But I dealt with that bastard accordingly, if you guys remember, last August when I made that video where I destroyed the slim PS2. A lot of people loved it, and a lot of people hated it. I guess those haters just like getting circular scratches on their discs, am I right? And then we're just making short work of more of the bosses. I lost count. We're just ripping through these bosses like they're nothing. I have no idea what boss we're on right now. And there's still a few capsules there. I need to keep them in capsules. And some boss columns are done more in a way where you just progress through the levels, and every now and then you run into one of them. Kind of like in the original Mega Man and the original Mega Man X. And Mega Man Base did that too. There's this fish guy again. Just gonna slash him up and make some shrimp out of him. Some steamed shrimp. Yeah, I haven't had shrimp in a long time, so I still have a bit of a craving for steamed shrimp. Go past the cocktail sauce. Yeah, Statler and Woldorf, go past the cocktail sauce. You can probably make great cocktail sauce or great cut shrimp with those large, majestic claws of his. It also looks not too different from some of those lobsters we see at those tanks in the supermarket. You know, they go to the grocery store and see what lobsters they have for sale. Yeah, I love lobster. It's a shame I don't get to have it that often. But I love it, especially on spaghetti too. You actually put it in spaghetti and put like a creamy sauce, a creamy cheese sauce. I don't know, that tastes like bliss. Imagine food in heaven probably must taste something like that. I'm just gonna stand here for a bit and let my health recharge, thanks to Dr. Light and his overly generous gold suit of armor that he somehow knew would be useful against Dr. Doppler. Oh, look, it's a Gravity Beatbud again, Gravity Beatnik, whatever his name is. The Beatniks of the Gravity, or the gravitational pull guy. The guy that would hate being in space. Yeah, and going to space would be his weakness. Or maybe getting slashed by a Z-Saber would make a better weakness for him. He just got slashed once. Look at that, he's just creating a black hole. A large black hole. But what good is a black hole against a Z-Saber? Nothing is more powerful than a Z-Saber. Not even an Apache helicopter is more powerful than a Z-Saber. Not even Chuck Norris could beat a Z-Saber. The Z-Saber truly is mightier than any pen that exists. If the pen is mightier than the sword, well, clearly, whoever said that line of dialogue clearly didn't know anything about the Z-Saber. Just gonna hang out here again, maybe crack open a non-alcoholic beer, and just have something to drink while I wait for our health to refill so we can take on the next Maverick. And that time to take on the next Maverick is now. Who is it this time? Oh, it's the drilling guy, that screw Masider guy, whatever his name is. The drilling guy, the excavator guy, whatever his name is. It also reminds me a bit of a boss from the 1989 Batman game on the NES, where the part where Batman goes to some kind of excavation site to fight against some guy who looks kind of like him. I definitely remember that scene in the movie where Batman had to fight some overly strong guy at an excavation site. It was the most memorable scene in that movie. Also makes for a memorable scene in this game too, so I just decimated him mostly only using the Z-Saber. Now, how many bosses are left? I have no idea. I just lost count. I don't even think I care. Who cares how many bosses there are? Boss is getting killed. His boss is getting killed. No one really cares about how many remain. Is that all of them? I think that's all of them now. I was gonna rest here for a bit, have some more of my non-alcoholic beer, and wait for my health to get to nearly 100%. I think it takes longer than at first when you're trying to get it to activate, but then once it activates, you can just sit back and relax and wait for your health to get to full health. Well, you can put the game on cruise control. Just let it play by itself for the rest of the game. Yeah, it's okay. I put it on cruise control. You know, cruise control doesn't drive the van. It just regulates speed. The next thing you know, you're gonna be hitting something on the freeway. You're gonna spin and flip over, and your deep fryer is gonna go everywhere, and all your stuff is gonna get destroyed from the deep fryer. Yeah. Oh, it's those laser things again where you just dash through them. They seem to have a mind of their own. Sometimes they hit you spot on, and sometimes they don't. Look, they just put like a health pickup right there. It's conveniently lying there. So we're gonna go take on the master himself. And his only guard was one of those little things with 2 legs, just has a gun on its head. Not really an effective way. And look, it's a CBS logo again. I think we've made it to CBS headquarters maybe or something. Or I guess that's where his base of operations. If he's just gonna talk about how he's powerful and how we're the next thing, we're the next greatest thing that's gonna rule the world, and there's nothing you could really do about it because you were just pathetic and wimpy. Of course, he doesn't know he has Z-Saber, obviously. If he did, he probably wouldn't be saying this stuff right now. Gonna throw off his clothes, revealing he's naked underneath. And he has that shield, that squiggly, scribbly line shield. If you shoot at him while that shield is up, how many damage it would be inflicted otherwise is gonna add to his health, so you actually gain health, which makes him a challenge. But of course, as soon as it's down, I just hit him with a Z-Saber, and look at that, he's dead, just like that. One of the easiest bosses in any video game ever. Just took him out like he's nothing. Dr. Doppler really is a pathetic wuss. Now he's gonna confess that, oh, it wasn't me that did any of this at all. It was all Sigma. Sigma took over my body and he made me do all this stuff. He used me as his pawn on a chessboard. He used me to build all of this. He's the real one you want dead, and now his robot body is completed and he's out and about somewhere, and we have to go and stop Sigma now, because I'm definitely not the real villain of this game. Of course it would be Sigma. You must forgive me, X. Yeah, I think I forgive you, but my Z-Saber doesn't. And we never see this guy again in any of the future games. Ray Phoenix, signing out.